Let's get straight into it with my panel. I've got a very special cross into London tonight as we lead into the coronation. Joining me now, National Party MP, former Minister Keith Pitt, Sky News contributor, former Howard Government Minister Gary Hargreaves, as always, on a Monday. Keith, I want to start with you. This announcement the other day from Linda Burney, I missed it at the time. Now I'm digging into it. She wants to do something about First Nations water. So she's talking about putting water rights back in the hands of Aboriginal Australians. This is before a voice, of course, and this is what happened in New Zealand. We know it's a disaster. Certainly farmers were up in arms about it. It means that, you know, non-Maori people can't use water for fishing or boating. Is that what they're trying to do here?
Oh, let's call it for what it is, Peter. It's a transfer of wealth from people who hold those entitlements now to someone else and paid for by the taxpayer. Now, you know, if there's cultural activities, well, that's fine. But I don't know what cultural activities need 1 million litres of water, no matter 1,000 million litres or 100,000 million litres of water, other than having it for sale to farmers who need it because they've lost their entitlement. And as for the taxpayer paying for it, I mean, I did a quick bit of research. If you look at the government's transparency website, the Aboriginal benefit account in the Northern Territory currently holds almost $1.4 billion in cash deposits, term deposits at bank, and take about $350 million a year in royalties from the resources sector in the Northern Territory. That's just one area. I'm all for Aboriginal people being involved, building the economy, building businesses. But why should the taxpayer have to do it and take that entitlement from our hardworking farmers who already hold those entitlements and who need them?
And Gary, why can't some of that $1 billion of money held in trust, on trust for Aboriginal people, be used to build some Aboriginal houses to fix some of these issues we're seeing in Alice Springs? I mean, the taxpayer puts $30 billion on the table each and every year. We've got there's horrific issues we saw over the weekend. Not enough's being done to fix it. A lot of talk, not a lot of action.
And Peter, part of the problem is that the people who've gathered the rights over all that land are living in penthouse apartments in Sydney and Melbourne and actually never go onto the traditional lands themselves. So, you know, they're doing really, really well out of the whole thing and exploiting it. And so going to give them, say, control of water, which probably needs a constitutional change, by the way. It's the state governments that run water. That's why we don't build any dams in this country. I mean, on every front, there's something fundamentally wrong with what is being done, creating more division, but elites are doing really, really well out of the current system, and they want to do even better out of the sort of constitutionally entrenched changes that are being talked about. And meanwhile, you've got those poor people in Alice Springs who can't go home at night. There's more violence on the streets everywhere you turn. People are not being treated as everybody else is treated. The lawyers, the police, everybody looks the other way because they look at skin colour and go, oh, well, you know, we're going to get into trouble for all of this. Until people are actually treated equally before the law yet again in this country, until we get to that stage, we're going to continue to have this division, this hurt. And frankly, Peter, all these public policy fails. And it suits the elites. You know, they're having a happy time.
I know.
Not a good look at all.
I have to say, until we are just as angry about the rape of a 2-year-old Aboriginal kid as we would be about the rape of a 2-year-old white kid in Sydney or Brisbane or Melbourne, we're never going to have reconciliation, and the voice won't make a damn bit of difference. No. Let's go down to Melbourne. The Liberal opposition in Victoria, legislation's coming through the Parliament to formalise the heroin injecting room. Up until now, it's been a so-called trial that's gone on for 5 years, but that will be formalised in the Parliament. The Libs want to amend the legislation and they want to take this away from where it is right next to a primary school. Locals have had enough of the crime. I live not far from there. I have seen literally sex acts and drug dealing, all that stuff at 10:30 in the morning. But there's so common sense from the Libs there. But the Greens, Keith Pitt, they want to open up the heroin injecting room, the ice injecting room as well, for kids under the age of 18.
Peter, this is always the Greens' go. They want the government to run quality control for drug dealers. That's what they want. It is just appalling. I can understand exactly what all those parents are thinking. As a parent myself, I'd be horrified. And a primary school. I mean, kids, can't we just let kids be kids? Why do they need to be exposed to all of these things before they even turn anywhere near being an adult? They've got enough to deal with. And yet, once again, the Greens are out there. So good on the Victorian Liberal Party. They should fight harder. They can send it offshore. That's the best place for it.
Gary?
Well, Peter, I just think they need to muscle up a bit more. I mean, the Victorian Liberal Party needs to put a bit of cement in their morning coffee and toughen up a bit. I mean, what is wrong with actually standing firmly against the whole concept of these injection rooms? You know, I mean, seriously, people are saying, well, we want to, make sure that the drugs have got a government stamp of approval on them. Well, why aren't we actually interdicting, penalising, jailing people who are involved in all of this? And I know that some of them are hooked and they're victims and all that sort of stuff, but I am sick to death of this mamby-pamby approach to drug enforcement in this country. We are constantly making excuses for people who are hooked on drugs. Not most people are, but plenty of them are on the roads right now. And I'll be out mixing it in the traffic of Brisbane with people who are probably all iced up through their veins, and yet there's no interdiction on this stuff, Peter. And even the Liberals are just simply, oh well, look, it's just the way it is. We'll have to make it nice for them. Fair dinkum. Put a bit of cement in your coffee, Pizzuto. Toughen up, man up, have a view.
Gary Hargraves, my phone is just lit up like a Christmas tree. I think there's a lot of people down here want to find you a seat. You're a Liberal. Make your way down to Melbourne and shake the place up. Gary Hargraves, Keith Pitt, thank you for your time.